Why do you think people like Paul Pui from Edge Wallet and those guys that are more big blocker side, why do you think they just are resistant to Lightning so much? I've heard them say in the past that Lightning was an altcoin and things like that. Do you think it's just more politics, or do you think that they just are never going to integrate Lightning, or they're just going to eventually become BCH companies or big block companies, or do you think they're going to eventually be kind of like the market's going to show them that they need to, if they need to use it or not?
I think they have a point that Lightning, it works just so differently than the blockchain. If you want to use Lightning and you want to use the full extent of all the Lightning features, it's almost like its own ecosystem. You have to think about things in a different way than you would think about the blockchain. Of course, you still are using the same base asset. So it is still Bitcoin. It's also designed to be trust minimized. I think another thing that they can't really see as much is that, we have all of these plans to extend Lightning into ways that kind of address its shortcomings or make it easier to use, but they just take time to develop. That's something that, you kind of have to be patient and wait for, or you have to be involved yourself and commit development resources to it. There's no like easy answer. If I can't like press a button and make Lightning like instantly easy and perfect.
To be fair, too, like that was a year and a half, 2 years ago when he said that, and I don't know what his views are lately. I kind of stopped paying attention to him when he said that because I was like, "Come on, man, this is like not an altcoin. It's not a different coin." And I got into an argument with him on Twitter about
That's
it.
also something that I thought about in terms of submarine swaps. So making Lightning work well with the chain, I think it kind of gives you the ability to not totally leave the chain. That you can say, well, the chain is really good for some certain things, and we haven't hit the super high fees yet. So why don't we like have a graceful transition where we have sometimes we're using on-chain transactions and sometimes we're using off-chain, and let's let those two work together.
What's the use case for a submarine swap? Do you think the average person would understand?
When I originally thought about the concept, I made like a demo server and a demo website called submarineswaps.org. And I thought the easiest way for somebody like average to get a handle on what it is you could go to submarineswaps.org and you could take any Lightning invoice. So you could go to any Lightning app and take the request for payment. And you could paste it in there, and it would then give you an on-chain address. And this on-chain address would be one that you could send to using any on-chain wallet. You could send to it from an exchange. You can send to it from your Trezor.
Oh, cool.
What's going to happen is the submarine swap server is going to take that on-chain funds, and then it's going to extend it into Lightning. And so the Lightning invoice will be paid as soon as you get a confirmation. And so you'll be able to pay for Lightning things without even having a Lightning wallet. You'll just use an on-chain wallet.
That's like Strike, but Bitcoin.
Exactly. And I think that's the whole kind of concept of the Lightning Network in general, is that you want to be bridging people, like you want to be bridging different markets together. You want to be bridging different payment technologies together.
Is there any wallets that have this integrated or anything that's easy to like just scan the QR code, like the Lightning invoice, and use your on-chain Bitcoin to pay it?
Actually, what has become more popular is the reverse flow. So Breeze has this ability to do submarine swaps like built into it. There's also Moon Wallet, MUUN wallet. They've been working on submarine swaps. I know that Async, like a Claire wallet, they've been talking about doing something like submarine swaps, but I think they have custodial swaps right now.
Okay.
There's also like other swap providers, so it's not just Lightning Loop. And of course, I made submarine swaps on my own before I joined Lightning Labs. And so at Lightning Labs, we made a new version of the submarine swap service. It's not related to the old, like it's a rewrite in Go, and my version was written in Node.js. There's lots of different people using it in different ways.
To me, the way I'm thinking about it is like this probably wouldn't be used in the future because it wouldn't be as efficient as like Lightning Loop or multi-point payments or something like that. Is it something you see would just get eventually not used if the block space gets too expensive? Transactions?
Yeah, it really depends. Like, let's say you're making a large payment, like you're buying a car. And let's imagine the Lightning Network in the future is so big.
You mean like you're buying a roll of toilet paper?
Yeah, you're buying some very fancy, expensive, very rare to find toilet paper.
2-ply.
Yeah.
2-ply is going to be the new...
I feel that right now, yeah. So maybe you don't want to like maintain this Lightning wallet, but you can dig out your Trezor and you can make this one-off purchase.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely more limited in use case than some other potential use cases, but I think it can still be useful.
One final thing I wanted to talk about you. We've been going for a little while here. I got to go get something to eat soon, but I wanted to ask you, because you had posted, not just recently, but you've kind of been championing for the last little while, like providing liquidity and routing and stuff on Lightning Network, and how you're kind of like an activist there where you're providing liquidity and you're trying to... what's your goal with that? Why are you doing that? Is it to make money, or is it more of an activism thing?
Like, from my perspective, there isn't so much difference. Different people have different philosophies of how the routing network is going to work. My philosophy is if people cannot make revenue, if people cannot like make money by running the routing nodes, they won't run the routing nodes because there's an expense involved. You need it to be worth my while to actually run it. Of course, I'm doing a routing node to like learn and also to help the Lightning Network. That's a big motivation for me. But I'm also trying to figure out like, can these routing nodes actually be profitable? Can they make money? And then once they do make money, I also want to set people's expectations properly. Like one thing problem I think we had with Bitcoin, and especially with the big blocks, is that people's expectations were that the on-chain transactions would forever be very, very cheap. And they had the wrong expectation when it came to, the time that there was contention for the block space. So with Lightning, I'm hoping that we can start out a bit more knowledgeable with, there's a certain number of people who are going to be altruistic and, they're going to be letting you use their nodes for free. But that's not necessarily going to scale to everybody. There's limited capacity even in Lightning. And in order to use that capacity efficiently, we're going to have to pay fees for it. And of course, there's going to be a market process. So hopefully, we're going to try to make the fees as low as possible. But there's going to be fees. And what fees are they going to be? We don't actually know. It's going to be up to the market to decide. So I want to kind of set those expectations right up front so that people are used to it as it grows and that we can keep pushing those fees down while recognizing that they're there.
So is there any way for like an average Bitcoin user that has a little bit extra money that wants to get involved with that to make some spare money, or is it more complicated?
I think it is something that you would have to do as like an enthusiast right now. Casa did make that node, but the thing about it is that if you want to run a good routing node, it's kind of like a video game. So I wouldn't say like it takes work so much as it takes some effort. So you have to kind of figure out like where you want to place your capital. The problem is it's not like a Bitcoin node where you just set up a Bitcoin node and then you're relaying other people's payments.
That's what I did. I set up my Casa node. I threw like some Bitcoin on it, and I was just like turned it on
Yeah.
and was like, find me channels. I
Yeah.
clicked the button to find me channel, and I just let it run for a year.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it sent any transactions or did anything
It probably
because
didn't
now I
work.
can't even get the thing to start. It's like when they announced that they weren't using it anymore, I guess something happened to my node, and I still got to figure out how to get my Bitcoin off of there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
I would
there
say
is risk involved.
it's not ready. That kind of thing where you just plug it in and it works is not ready. And maybe it never will be ready. It's something that you would like if you really care about it and you want to really participate. You would have to devote some effort to like making your routing node efficient. Like, and that means like assigning capital to where it should be assigned. So you need to figure out like, am I making channels with people who just never use them? Because then I'm not helping anybody. Or am I making channels with people who are really using it? And then people who were using it, are they still using it? And like, could I assign them to people who need it now? That's kind of like the effort involved. And it's fun because you can make fees and parts of it can be automated. You can say like, look, I see this channel hasn't been used and let's try a new channel somewhere else. It's part of what we have to figure out. And that's also why I like running my own routing node. I just find it like very interesting of like, how can I be a good router?
I wanted to do it more from the perspective of I didn't want to make any money with it. I just wanted to provide free transactions to people, and I didn't care if it cost me money because I was thinking about it more like I'm supporting Bitcoin by doing this, but I just didn't put the effort in to manage channels and stuff. But I have the desire, and I know there's lots of us that were in the debate that were like feeling cognitive dissonance about the fees being so high and like, yeah, this sucks. The fees are high. Like I want to do whatever I can to put my money where my mouth is and show people that Bitcoin is for everybody. It's not just for people who can afford to pay $1 of transaction. So I wanted to provide like a place on Lightning Network where anybody who wanted could use Lightning, and I would pay the fees and like just kind of do that. But I just couldn't figure out how to do it. And I mean, I still want to do it. So if anybody's listening or whatever that wants to do this, I'm totally down to being like the safe harbor fees on Lightning Network. I don't know how much it'll cost me.
Yeah. Well, Lightning Loop also is a service for this in terms of figuring out how to balance your channels, because that's something that's like complicated to figure out. And if you don't keep your channels balanced, what you're actually doing is you're creating more errors for people. So if you don't run a routing node properly, other people don't know that. So they hit to your node and then like the channels are not balanced properly. So it errors and it just makes their payment worse. So one thing Lightning Loop allows you to do is to manipulate your balances and in a way where you don't really have to think about it too much. So you might be able to even get things cheaper if you're really smart about how to assign your liquidity. But Lightning Loop is kind of like an easy button where it's just like increase my inbound liquidity. And then now your channel is balanced.
I think I got to use your app. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll just click the button.
Yeah,
I'll do it
yeah.
tomorrow.
Well, I think that's something that we're focusing on is trying to think about how we can make this also like we have the API that makes it easy, but we don't have like the buttons. We don't have like user interface that makes it easy.
Yeah.
And that's just more things that we have to do.
Yeah, we're still so early in this.
And there's still more work we need to do on Loop to actually make it more efficient to deliver the multi-path payments. We don't have that yet. We need to really use Schnorr and Taproot. Those aren't soft forked in yet. We need to adjust things for that. We need to improve like the basic API. There's just like tons of work left to do. It's not like we have everything ready day one.